Tonight, Radio New Zealand cost-cutting claims two of the South's well-known personalities. The South Island's biggest supermarket opens its doors in Invercargill. And the mainland's most endangered bird comes to Queenstown. Good evening. The sound of radio in Dunedin is set to change, with the announcement today that Station 4ZB is to lay off several long-serving staff members, including two of its best-known announcers. The cuts are part of a nationwide restructuring by Radio New Zealand, and while the numbers to go locally are not great, they'll mark the end of an era for many Dunedin listeners. Alan Baddock has the details.
Currently it's 12 degrees. We've dropped 3 in the last hour and a 33 km/h southwesterly wind. You're up to date with Hits and Memories 4ZB.
Only 5 people have been laid off in RNZ's Dunedin cutbacks, but between them they've stacked up more than 100 years in broadcasting in this city, helping shape the radio experiences of a whole generation.
The outlook for tomorrow, Thursday the 5th of June, is pretty bleak, I'm afraid. It's for continuing rain. You're with Radio 4ZB, it's 9 minutes past 12.
The most noticeable changes will come with the departure of announcers Neil Collins and John Jones. Both men have had a high profile on the airwaves since the 1960s, as well as appearing on television and at local concerts and functions. 3 jobs had already gone from Radio New Zealand earlier this year, leaving just 29 positions. But according to Radio New Zealand, the positions of the 2 announcers and 3 office and production staff have now also become surplus to requirements.
They've come about because of a nationwide look at Radio New Zealand's finances, our level of profitability, and the need to take some urgent action to reduce our expenditure.
The question remaining to be answered now is what effect the staff changes will have on 4ZB's performance in the ratings battle. Both announcers had a strong following in a city known for its loyalty.
But we're confident that we will have a strong audience support, and we will continue to have a strong on-air lineup.
A young Dunedin man who's just received a painting and decorating travel scholarship was killed this morning in a motor accident. 20-year-old Wayne Turner died in hospital after his motorcycle collided with a car in Oxford Street. The apprentice painter and decorator had just been awarded a Dulux travel scholarship to Australia. The largest grocery store in the South Island opened for business in Invercargill this morning. The $6.5 million building was constructed for Foodstuffs Otago Southland, based in Dunedin. But its operation is leased out locally. Peter Cruikshank took his shopping trolley along.
The huge building, clad in aluminium and foam polystyrene, is modelled on a very popular Auckland store. It's right in the heart of Invercargill, opposite the town hall, and covers about a third of a city block. The reason given for locating it here was to help rejuvenate the city centre. In a way, it's a cross between supermarket and grocery warehouse, in that the fresh foods are there, but the difference comes in the layout of the stored products. From 6 a.m. to opening time, forklifts move in bulk packs of goods, 6 metres above the floor. On the next shelf, they're broken down, and the bottom 2 metres displayed. The whole building is designed to conserve energy. The heat generated by the refrigeration plants is used to heat the atmosphere through huge air pipes in the roof. The working conditions must have appeared attractive, as 2,500 people applied for the 150 jobs. And it's noticeable among the staff there are a few former grocery store proprietors.
Well, most of them actually, Peter, we've picked up from when they've closed their shops or have sold their shops over the last period of time. Some of them have been out of the business for 3 years and that type of thing, and we've been lucky to pick up some extremely good staff that way just by going out and looking and that type of stuff.
Other food markets in the central area were quiet today, and owners are concerned about the long-term effect it'll have. And while the cavernous underground park didn't get much use first off, the rest of the $6.5 million building was busy.
Dunedin City Council has unveiled its plans for the way Otago should be run in the future. The council wants one authority for the whole province. It says this would be less complicated and cheaper than the 3-tiered system the Local Government Commission is likely to impose. Silver Peaks County and the Otago Harbour Board have joined the city in its one authority submission, which has to be before the Local Government Commission by next month. The Otago Museum opened its doors today to the people who keep it running. Representatives of the local bodies who fund the museum were given a guided tour. Museum staff were hoping the visit would provide an understanding of the museum's needs and problems. Jim Moore reports.
With the museum director seeking a funding increase of 10%, it was important the museum appear to be value for money. It was also important that members of local authorities see for themselves the maintenance needs of the museum, including the much talked about $250,000 roof repairs. The museum's obviously a facility in which many people take pride. It has more than $50 million worth of exhibits. Over the last year, attendance has doubled, donations trebled, but money is still tight. Members at the meeting spoke in favour of more government funding for the museum, of amalgamation with the Early Settlers Museum, and of reinstating entrance charges.
If there was sufficient argument for reinstating a trial, I guess that the board would have to look at it.
Today's tour seems to have been a success, generating enthusiasm among the local body visitors from around the province.
And I think the opportunity to go up and see the roof and see the sky through the roof and to see all the things that are happening here, the new displays, the conservation unit, I'm sure it has given them a greater deal of understanding.
A lot of people don't realise what a museum does. We decided to show them round so they can see the range of things we do and the plans we have for this place.
Do you think they're happier now that they can see where their money is being spent?
A lot of them have said to me they're happier because exactly that. They've seen what the money's going on.
Do you think the Otago Museum is value for money?
Still costs the average Otago person less than the price of a cinema ticket, so the answer is yes.
The meeting seemed to agree.
There's a great more interest in the museum, that we've really got something to offer here in Dunedin, and people are beginning to discover it.
I haven't been in the museum for a few years, and I thought it was tremendous and pointed out quite a few of the problems. To have been only on paper before, now we can see them.
Curators at the Queenstown Birdlife Park are anxiously watching their latest arrivals. A pair of black stilts given to the park are displaying what could be romantic behaviour. But as Kim Hurring reports, it could also be a case of old-fashioned macho aggression.
All eyes are on the newest couple at the Queenstown Kiwi and Birdlife Park. Although they've been together in their new aviary here for less than a fortnight, the male has been displaying an aggressive-looking tendency that could be sheer bullying or could be a romantic overture.
It's the male at the moment is harassing the female a little. We're not quite sure if it just is aggressive nature and settling into the aviary, or if it is really what we really want, which is breeding.
The natural breeding season for the birds is fast approaching. The ducks, nesting on the roof of the next door aviary, are already well underway. But the stilts weren't really expected to mate this year. They've been transferred from the Mount Bruce Wildlife Centre, and the last leg of their flight from Twizel was unsettling for the birds, which are naturally nervous creatures.
The transfer down went very easily, although we did hit some turbulence coming through Twizel area, which caused we had to repack the boxes in their holding area and check them coming through. Apart from that, that went really well. They moved into their aviary and settled very quickly.
The bird park is privileged to have the stilts. It's the only non-Department of Conservation group that's been allowed to take part in the management program. Black stilts are the rarest wading birds in the country. Only 60 or 70 exist, so signs of breeding are not taken lightly. But the curators have separated the stilts temporarily just to allow them to settle in better.
At their last home, the black stilts were looked after by a young former Southlander totally committed to conservation. Sue Anderson, who hails from Five Rivers, worked for a whole year at the Mount Bruce Wildlife Sanctuary in the Wairarapa before she was put on the payroll. Vicky Wilkinson-Baker caught up with her as she was preparing the residents' breakfast.
The biscuits may seem a little unusual for birds, but they're the final touch to Sue Anderson's fruit and vegetable salad. It's a sort of diet supplement when there aren't enough berries and insects to go round. After 2 hours in the kitchen, the distribution job begins. There are about 360 birds at Mount Bruce. They don't all need feeding all the time, but there's enough work to fill in the morning. It's a bit like a motel breakfast run, with time set aside for cleaning and a chat if the guests are feeling friendly. First stop today is the Karkas and Weckers. For them, the food's in a more unprocessed form. Like all the others, though, they've developed quite a taste for the man-made nectar.
Come on.
Sue Anderson believes close contact with birds is what makes the job worthwhile.
Most of them get very used to each individual person who goes in feeding them, and they get really trusting. They come right up. A lot of them are very inquisitive, like the stitch birds and parakeets and that. Very cheeky.
Some, though, are a little more reserved, preferring to watch and wait rather than rush in. Sue's one of 3 staff directly involved in aviculture and bird husbandry. She started the job back in 1985. So keen in those days she worked for a year without pay.
A lot of people couldn't believe that I was going to do it. Couldn't understand. But I just wanted to do it. So.
You must have wanted to do it an awful lot.
Yep.
Paid or unpaid, she's had no regrets about the path her career's taken. It doesn't seem to worry the Mount Bruce birds, but according to Sue, the one drawback is the weather. She might be from Southland, but claims the winters can be particularly cold and harsh.
Get some pretty hard frosts here sometimes, minus 7 or 8 degrees. And then when all the padlocks on the aviaries ice up and you've got to try and thaw them out with your hands, it's not very good for them.
For Sue Anderson, the hard work's about to pay off. She's been accepted for a conservation and captive breeding course at Jersey Zoo in the Channel Islands. Experience she's keen to put into practice back here.
We're very concerned, like a lot of people, really. So many are becoming more endangered every day, mostly through man's interference and habitat loss and stuff like that.
While some will clearly miss her in the short term, Sue Anderson will be back. And she's hoping her new knowledge and experience then will help them all in the long term.
Despite all the gloomy predictions about today's weather, it was unseasonably mild in many areas with some high 3 o'clock temperatures, the highest being recorded in Oamaru with 18 degrees. Predicting a high of 10 degrees tomorrow for Invercargill and 10 degrees tomorrow also for Dunedin. We'll be back same time tomorrow night. Good night.